Welcome to the Kodaris Community Show with your hosts, Tony and Margaret, and the occasional friend stopping by. This is the podcast where we explore how innovation in technology is reshaping distribution and the supply chain as a whole. Discover how technology is making companies more efficient and profitable, making their customers happier, and is paving the way for our future. Join us for insights from industry experts, interviews with innovators, and actionable ideas to stay ahead in our rapidly evolving world. All right. Welcome back, Tony. It's great to get back behind the mic. I know something that we've recently talked about is kind of this shift that we're seeing with purchasing software and even where the software industry is going. Obviously, there's a lot of chaos going on right now, let's say. So to open it up, I think I would love to hear your perspective on what you see just overall generally happening in software right now. We'll do a large view of it, and then let's drill down into maybe what's changing about buying software.
Yeah, that's hard to unpack in a short overview.
You get 30 seconds. Go.
In the software industry right now, we're seeing obviously a big disruption with AI, from AI coding to AI learning, all of these different issues. And, as I mentioned at our user conference we had last month, the number one industry that's going to be disrupted by AI, ironically, is IT. It's not going to be the warehouse person, not the
picker.
And then probably, white collar jobs after that, that are doing data entry or moving stuff or doing analysis. So IT is going to destroy its own industry, basically, in a way. But in order to get effective AI needs data. AI is so good at writing code now, and we're doing it with our engineers and getting better. We're working on perfecting it to actually using our audited platform. AI is really good at writing UX code. And so given the right tooling, the right APIs, it literally can write an entire UX screen in minutes that used to take an engineer months with the proper instructions. And so in the next year, or towards the end of the year, I see that a lot of the point solutions or SaaS companies using third-party APIs and things like that will really be struggling and or disappear. The platform, cybersecurity, scalability, all those DevOps, all those things are still very critical. Not something AI is going to replace anytime soon, although we certainly use AI to assist there. There's still a lot of human involvement. So it'll be interesting. Engineers are also getting much more efficient. We're obviously AI first internally, working through that. But the control of the desktop, the control of the user experience, defining yourself by user experience is going to disappear. Everybody's used to typing to AI doing things for them. So it will be a revolution over the next 3 or 4 years. It's going to move extremely fast. So overall, I would say that there's massive amounts of uncertainty in the software industry for engineers, for employees. It's funny, there used to be this thing called generalists in the software industry many years ago, came in the software industry, where you knew a lot and you developed in a lot of different areas, and that disappeared as tooling got more specialized. And now what we're seeing is the solution engineers that are really good are the generalists, because AI can do the specialization. But it's the generalists who understand the big flow and everything happening that can actually tell AI exactly what it needs to know to actually go do the work. So I think that was under 30 seconds.
You blew past 30 seconds on that one, but we'll give it to you. I know we've talked privately or like one-on-one about what we've seen over even the last 5-10 years of software and features becoming a commodity. I think we might have mentioned it at some point on one of these podcast episodes, but it sounds like that is becoming even more real as we can use AI to create new features and products at a faster scale. So I know that there's a lot of people out there, and the historical way of buying software was you submit an RFP, right? Or you send out an RFP and then you get a bunch of responses back of, can you do this certain thing? Or do you have this feature? What do you think is changing about the buying process of software based on the fact that not only a couple years ago software was already becoming a commodity, but now it's speeding up in terms of the software you can actually create?
Yeah, I think there's a two-edged sword here. You can create software very fast, but you still have the human change management if you're creating screens people have to use. You're
Oh,
also
that tricky thing.
you're also, can create technical that doesn't scale. So if you go back to creating all one-offs for your company, that doesn't scale either. But when you look at a partner you're buying software from, one, we're seeing a migration to consolidated platforms. ServiceNow's revenue is going up like crazy because people are migrating their data into one spot to improve AI, improve training, all of those things. And you're going to want a partner that's innovating. I mean, we're seeing that in our own business, people consolidating, people want to see innovation because you're really buying the future like we've covered before. In the world of AI, it's going to become even more critical to have one platform, one place for your software to live. I think when we think down to feature sets, distinct features that you win on based on some specialized knowledge is going to be no longer, right? I think that, I mean, when you look at a recent example of running cartonization to put things in boxes that check out in real time, there's some specialized formulas. They take knowledge. There's a few companies who did it, maybe did it well. Mostly shipping companies. They had a lot of specialized knowledge. We had AI write a prototype in literally less than 30 minutes because it's common that algorithms are out there on the internet. And if you have the rest of the infrastructure around it, like the commerce, the checkout, the shipping rates, where to store the data, all of those things, those very specialized features become very easy to plug in and produce and plug those in. So I think you have to look at it when you're buying as a whole. What are the capabilities? If there's a few features missing, we used to tell customers, we can certainly develop those with you. But that gets even faster now, right? Specialized things that people want. So it's not even about, the tech industry is talking about, you can recreate whole SaaS products lightning fast. When you think about an RFP process, okay, you should understand the basics that the company can do most of it. They have customers like you, they fit markets like you, they understand your business. They're also innovating as a partner, they're rolling out new things all the time. But when you get down to evaluating the RFP, if one vendor has 50% of it and one has 70% or one has 90 and one has 80, that gap is so small now in the world of AI of new things to plug in to the same type of solution. And then, again, lots of times people are looking at point solutions. What other value are you going to get from the products around it? How does it interconnect? Because having 5 or 8, 9, 10 point solutions, some people have 20, and taking advantage of all the innovation capabilities, all those companies are moving at different speeds. They're innovating at different speeds. Their data is all siloed in their own, and yes, AI can contact APIs and get data out, but it's still only going to be as good as it's calling those systems to get data out or do things. Of course, you have the people change and things like that, but if you look out, what's my 3 to 5 year plan? It's not about this one solution anymore. It's about how the future is going to be, because AI literally is reinventing itself or leapfrogging itself every 7 months in capabilities. We're not talking years. We're talking months now, and that there's new capabilities to do things.
The other thing that comes to mind is not just obviously the data quality and passing it through that many systems, but also there's a piece of security as well, right? How many different companies have access to your data, and are you flowing through to all of these different companies?
And how many companies are using your data for their own AI.
Exactly.
Which Kodaris doesn't do. It's siloed on AWS, and that's one reason we use AWS solutions. But
How then you have to audit the compliance for all of those vendors and make sure that they're keeping on top of all of their certifications and whatnot, right?
yeah, and also what they're doing with your data and with the personal information management and everything else going on. So yeah, the software is interesting. Whether how many things that the AI companies like Anthropic and people will knock off and just destroy industries versus the more specialized solutions versus the conglomerates that are building. I saw an article where ServiceNow is like pounding on Salesforce's door, converting people off to their own CRM because no more is there a unique specialty about even CRM at that largest scale either.
What's your craziest take about what's going to happen in the next 1 to 3 years?
But,
Specifically about technology, but it could be the craziest take about anything. What's your tinfoil hat theory, Tony?
um, I think it's interesting times with not only this revolution underway in the IT industry, about the macroeconomics, the U.S. not having a recession for a long time. We're way overdue. There are a lot of markets tightening right now, so there's a lot of people getting laid off, especially in the IT industry. It's going to take time. I'm not a doomsday. I think just like with every innovation, there will be new jobs created. There will be places. It will take time. There will be some pain. So I don't know. I think that the people who excel in the IT industry will become a highly specialized industry again for those who really understand and know how to use AI. And those are the skill sets. And it's interesting, either you have a knack for it because you almost are managing employees, or you don't. At least that's early what we're seeing in the IT industry. So the folks who got in IT got paid a lot of money because there's massive demand, which was only, if I look back 3 4 years, it was very hard to hire engineers globally because the whole global market was so tight, and that became a little bit looser the last year or two, but now it's becoming really loose in the U.S. and really I think all over the world. But now it's like, who do you hire? You're looking for specific people that can be AI first and really leverage it because they're just faster to everything because they have people helping them. They have Claude helping them, right? So I don't know. I think the IT industry will shrink from a people perspective, from a headcount perspective, quite a bit. I think the consolidation in a recession, we'll see macroeconomic consolidation of IT services. We see companies tighten, saying, what can we eliminate? And if I can eliminate a few solutions and consolidate that onto one, I'm going to be money ahead. And so I think there'll be a trend towards where the industry will just kind of change over. It's been very, I won't say stagnant, but pretty much the same for about 20 years, 15 years, as far as how IT works, which has become the backbone of massive amounts of revenue, investor money, those types of things. So I do think that the AI companies will knock off more and more industries because they just can't help themselves. There's too much opportunity. There's too much investment going in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like the train is full steam ahead. The brakes won't work at this point. There are no brakes.
Well, when you analyze the CapEx going into AI companies and what people are investing in, it's like nothing we've ever seen. But I do think there will be some winners and there'll be a lot of losers. So hopefully if you're building your infrastructure, you're betting on the winner, not one of the losers.
Yeah, well, that helps me transition actually to not to toot our own horns, but I know another thing that we've been talking about recently is this idea of a multi-billion-dollar experience for customers. And so you had shot me an email with, I think it literally just said multi-billion-dollar experience, not hacky features. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think my thought there was as we talk to people, especially small companies who are switching to Kodaris, there's a mindset of we're small so we can only do X. Or can we just make this work? We're not we're not trying to be fancy. Can we afford this? We've had several people looking at our solutions say, I'm not sure I can afford this before we even price them because it looks like a lot. It looks like it's high end.
It's not what they're used to.
The cool thing is, in the world of AI, well, first with the Kodaris community, we've built this $1 billion experience already for other customers. And by being part of the community, you can have that. It's different when you're looking at a low-end commerce system or a customer portal and saying, well, this is what it is, but this is what we can afford to, I'm a SMB or mid-market company, but now from a technology perspective, I can compete with a multi-billion-dollar company. But we have customers doing that, and we have customers who have signed, and that's their plan, and we're delivering on that. So you have to dream the future just being part of Kodaris, because sometimes we just have it because we've already done it with someone and you own it, you just don't know you own it. The other thing is, around that is with the world of AI, and we talked about it when I presented at user conference, that the IT industry is going to get really flat because you can produce code so fast. And once that code is produced, it runs. So you're going to kind of have this market segment where I don't want to say it's a race to the bottom, but the AI companies are selling for, a 70% value, let's say, than an employee to write code, or a 700% value if it can write it for 10 employees because you have somebody good who can use AI. So the productivity goes way up, which means the supply is going up, right? So the cost should come down from an economic perspective. So the idea that SaaS companies are going to charge a lot of money for monthly or users or anything else is going to be really challenged in the next few years because if you think about $1 billion experience and AI can write that at 1/1000th of the cost, or you need a feature, and you're already starting with a big foundation like Kodaris is, then having AI tweak and build on top of that becomes very fast. And we're working on to give customers the ability to even do it very fast themselves, because the future is not in that service business. The future is not in the, per seat, which we charge flat rate for ours, so you get unlimited users, unlimited everything, unlimited features as we roll them out. But I just see that whole dynamic starting to really change. But then that means if you've been a smaller company, you have to really pull yourself out of the fact and say, it's not about just what we think we can afford, and so let's just do something. Let's dream the future and then say, okay, can this be here today? Is it within our reach based on being on Kodaris and AI and everything else we're doing? And we have customers all the time come and say, well, we're looking at this solution. Do you guys already have that? Or what's on your roadmap? Are you guys developing it? We have one customer who had a very old website, very poor user experience, and they have some huge competitors, multi-billion-dollar. And I told them, and this was, a year ago, that we would put them on a level playing field. And they launched a few months ago, and the response and their growth on online users and interactions and everything has been hundreds and hundreds of percent increasing, right? And it's just turnkey. We didn't do anything special for them yet, but it's just that they got an instant upgrade. So they're one decision away from, they made one decision to join Kodaris, and it changed their whole competitive model around technology with their largest competitors. And I think that's going to accelerate, not only for Kodaris people, but even across industries. And the large companies traditionally have, their advantage has been money when it comes to technology. But I think that's going to disappear because the technology is going to be so plentiful that people like Kodaris or software companies are going to have, well, we're using AI, we create the software, we can resell it 1,000,000 times. So we're going to keep dropping the price till we get business. And you're going to kind of see this commoditization of software in general. That's not going to be the advantage anymore, or not near as much as the advantage.
Yeah, and I know I always go back to it's the fact that this business model that you created around the Kodaris customer community funds the innovation, which now thankfully is going to be less expensive than ever before in terms of engineering services, and then the entire community benefits. I think there's a lot of software companies, point solutions out there where their business model is not that, right? Their business model is pay per seat, it price increases every year, even though that software has already been built. Slow development cycles, maybe you're getting one or two releases per year in terms of new features. And I do think that this might be a little too like chest beating, but I do think that the uniqueness is in the business model to be able to constantly like make sure that we're lowering prices for customers as the cost to us is lowered as well.
Yeah, and again, I tell people I came up with this by accident. I kind of fell into it just the way we got started of funding our
And
business.
that's not, you're not giving yourself enough credit. It's based on your values as a human being of why you accidentally fell into it.
Um, but anyway, I do think the model of feeding features, we talk about price or cost. There's the initial purchase price, like we talked about. And that's what most companies look at. But then it's, well, what features or upgrades are you getting? How's that software providing more value? And I think as we look at Kodaris, if you subscribe to our service, 3 years ago, you're still paying the same price. But we've probably added 30,000 features or enhancements into the platform. So your value is continuously going up every week, even though maybe our price isn't dropping, but the value is still going up. And we continue to do that, as we add new features. And probably, we looked the other day and we're working on a little bit of a pivot internally to product teams. We have over 60 products and going. And I think literally we added 3 new applications in the last month. So it's accelerating, but that value just keeps coming. So as people pay their services bill, even if they have the same budgets and we can move faster and provide more value to the community, your cost does go down. Your return on investment, besides eliminating maybe other providers or increased revenue from a $1 billion experience, or operating optimizations you're making using Kodaris, that value just keeps giving back. And we've been fortunate. We haven't really had to raise prices in many years on SaaS. Obviously, labor's gone up a little bit, but now with AI, we're AI first. We're going to get more efficient. So how you calculate that, what you're paying, the ongoing constant of innovation is a big factor, big cost that people sometimes don't really think about.
Yeah, and you think about, I know earlier you mentioned change management, right? And I know there's a lot of our customers that might sign on and become part of the customer community, and maybe they're only implementing one piece of the platform, but then they have a roadmap of 3 months to 6 months to a year to then implement something else. And then they can then get off whatever point solution product they were using for that too, right? And so you think about the cost savings even in that calculation of being able to eventually, even if it's not on day one of signing the contract, being able to look out on what other things you're getting with Kodaris and when you're going to be able to save money by not renewing the other contract.
Yeah, we see that quite a bit. We have people even 3 or 4 year roadmaps that have budget they're going to invest in, and they have the savings calculated out as they migrate solutions. But they also see the new features and they see the upgrades. So they're looking for that. One of the other things they see is with the integrated platform, if you're, we offer the payment processing with terminals and everything integrated to ERPs now. If you're entering data in the ERP, but then your customer goes online and they vaulted something or they vaulted a card online, it now appears in the ERP when you're taking an order by phone. So you think about someone like Delta Airlines, who I'm in Atlanta, so I fly Delta. I can call up, I can use my card on file, whether I'm on the phone, whether I'm on the website, whether I'm in the mobile app. That seamless experience of everywhere, you can have that on Kodaris. It's not a disjointed, you did that on the commerce site? Well, this is a different system by phone. Right? When we think about that $1 billion experience, those are the things that a customer is coming to expect. Not just, I can't do that in the app. Oh, I can't do that by phone. Oh, online I can only do this. And I think about it took Delta quite a few years to get all features of the mobile app, but they finally did it, even using your e-credits now and other things. So it's definitely a journey, but it does make life a lot easier for your customers buying from you, who want to do business with you, but they do want it to be easy.
Yeah, side note on that, little off topic, but similar, it's the Delta thing. I was hearing that the younger generations will actually do large purchases on their phone. And I was trying to think about why, like for me, there are some things, like a plane flight is a computer purchase, right? It is not a phone purchase. And I was like, I think because like when I was, in college and starting to like buy my own stuff, you didn't have phone apps to do those things. You had to go on the computer for big purchases. Anyways, side note, but I thought that was really hysterical to think about. Even we're thinking about current customers' expectation of buying experience. And then you think even in 10 years, the Gen Zers that are making these purchasing decisions are going to be that much more making big decisions on their phones. And that to me is terrifying. But yeah, I'm still getting over like the tap to pay versus insert and all that kind of stuff. I never know where to tap it. I'm feeling like I'm getting older and older every day.
Well, in 10 years, you'll just tell your AI assistant to book a flight, please, and here's when I want to leave, and here's when I want to go. I mean, there's probably people piloting out there now with guardrails, but in 10 years, they'll have that figured out. So you won't do it on your phone or your website. You'll probably speak it into something at some point.
That's very true. Just voice to text on everything. Voice to AI.
Yep.
Tony, I think that's really all very helpful to think about in the way that if software is changing rapidly at this point in time, we also have to consider the process and maybe the traditions of how we've purchased software in the past and what bits of those should remain versus what should we be looking for as we move forward. So thank you for giving us some hot takes today.
Yeah, once everybody has it all figured out, I'd like to know, because I certainly don't, but it's certainly the world changing so fast. I think the one thing that won't go away with AI is human-to-human component. You need to evaluate all these things, but you also want to know the people on the other side of that transaction and that you're betting your future on, because you are kind of betting your future. So despite what everybody says, AI is going to save us a lot of work, be very cool, help us be way more productive, but I in no way think it's going to eliminate any human-to-human connection or the need for human beings in companies and businesses.
If anything, I think that just becomes the more important part, right? We automate the stuff that can be automated so we can show up together as human beings and build those relationships and have that connection time.
Yeah, that would be nice. Hopefully we're all at the beach or golfing or having dinner together rather than
Let the bots do the work. We're going to grab a pina colada. All right. Thank you, Tony. If you've been enjoying this podcast so far, take a moment and like and subscribe, or leave us a comment if you have any feedback. We'd love to hear it. Thank you for joining us this week on the Kodaris Community Show. We'll see you back next time.